And then it was another no. And again, in front of the coach, in front of the team, I cried so much. And I was like, why? Like, why? What's going on? Like, it was everything. And I, I just got emotional because I just remember my feeling of giving everything up for this one thing. And it's been going on for years and I still didn't get it.
Emerge Stories is a place where, as the name implies, you are going to hear stories. Stories from people all over the Philippines who have come from many different types of backgrounds, and especially people who have gone through struggles, people who have gone through the challenging parts of life. And I hope that these stories will relate for you in some way, that some of these stories will really land for you because these people have gone through probably just about the same thing you might be going through right now. Welcome again to Emerge Stories. Today we will be speaking with Astrid Sadaya. She has been all over the place doing all kinds of amazing things. She grew up in a relatively poor family in Cebu. Now she lives in Siargao. She's a freelancer. She's been a singer-songwriter. She's been a basically national level rugby player. She's now competing in surfing. And I think just you're going to really enjoy hearing all the things that Astrid has learned in her journey so far. You won't be hearing all of them, but many of them. And I think her story is really inspiring. So I hope that you love it. And if there's something here that's good for you or that you think someone would love to hear, please take a moment to share this channel with them, join our Facebook group. And we're trying to build a community to bring people together who are really trying to work on themselves, people that are excited about their potential and who they can actually become. And it's so important to connect with other people that are thinking similarly. So please join our group at Emerge PH. You can find us on Facebook. Thank you so much for being here. Please comment. Let us know what you think about the content. Give us ideas. What else can we be doing? What problems are you dealing with that we could possibly bring stories or content to help you with? Thank you so much. And let's jump into the conversation with Astrid. Astrid, welcome to Emerge Stories. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Looking forward to your story and getting into it and learning more. And I've enjoyed hearing the parts I've heard so far. So let's start out by telling us a little bit about where are you at in your life right now and what are the things you're doing good in your life?
Great. Right now, I'm living in Siargao. I'm sure a lot of people have been dreaming to visit here or even have already been here and want to come back. And it's like a dream. For me, this place is already home. It sounds cheesy, but you hear all these people like posting like places to be in this world. And I feel pretty lucky to already move here, alive here. And the reason why I picked Siargao was because I love the beach and I fell in love with surfing at some point, which we will be talking about later. But it's also the lifestyle. I can be me here, everything I love, surfing, arts, music, and even business. Like if you just start a small business, you can already find just some sidelines aside from the main job. Yes. Right now I'm working as a manager at a resort, La Boheme, Siargao, and it's doing well so far. I'm very comfortable working there and I have time to surf. I have time for myself. I do meditation. I'm still trying to get my workout balance. But yeah, it makes me feel healthy. This makes me feel happy. And that's where I'm at now.
What were you, and I think you told me you're doing some other things other than just managing, right? You have some online work or no?
Yes. Yeah. So I do online graphics. I graduated from arts and computer graphics. Sometimes I take just project-based, sometimes part-time jobs, sometimes full-time. I just mix this up, but that's the beauty about working online. I can just freely choose my schedule, be able to do things at my own pace and just start and stop at my own time.
Nice. And kind of curious, before you set yourself up with the ability to be in the place that you wanted to be, I'd love to talk more about like the process you went through to get yourself in that situation and why you did it. But what were you doing before that? Were you working in a city? Where were you at before?
Yeah, so I'm from Cebu and I grew up there. I studied there. Growing up, it wasn't really that easy with my family. We also had to move from one place to another, find a cheaper place. But my parents really made sure that we went to a good school. So that was good. But also, when I started working, I worked as a graphic designer, and pay wasn't that good, but it was just enough to help with the family a bit, hang out with some friends. And so it was just the city. That's when I also started playing music. Back then, my life was just about music. I had a band, but there were even times when I still questioned myself. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a singer, but when I tried to audition in this choir, I even remember I got so disappointed because the teacher told me that, oh no, you're not a singer. Like you don't know how to sing. And I'm like, oh no. So ever since then, I was like, nah, okay, I'm not a singer. This is not for me. But it's really something that I really wanted to do. And I really dreamt of being in a band and performing live on stage. So I just kept going. And yes, finally in college, randomly, one of our teachers asked us to do it. I want to sing. I love music. So one of our teachers asked us to just write in a journal whatever you want. What's your passion? And this and that. So I wrote down, I just wanted to perform live, do this, be in a band. So when we were passing our journals, one of the guys who I didn't meet yet, one of my classmates saw it, and he was a drummer, a really good jazz and blues drummer. And he was like, hey, you want to sing? Let's start a band. So it was super random. And I'm like, no, I'm not even sure if I can sing. But he believed in me. He was like, oh, no, I can tell you have got this. So let's test it out. Let's see what kind of genre you want. So we formed a band, and everything just lifted up. Like we got opportunities, we got invitations. We were the first freshmen who got into this huge event in that school. And that was when I started believing that, okay, I can sing. That teacher back in high school was wrong.
Well, I really want to go into this a little bit because I read a book. I don't know if you've heard of it, called Mindset by Carol Dweck. I read it about 9 years ago, I think. And this book really changed my life because it got me thinking about, it's really all about how we see ourselves when it comes to being malleable or not, and which parts of us are changeable. And I think singing is a really interesting example of something that many people, including me in the past, subconsciously, without realizing it, we think it's this thing that you're either born with or you're not. Like, I think most of us operate with some abilities being, I don't know, genetic, or it's like you have it or you don't have a voice. And I remember before really thinking, I don't have a great voice and I can't sing. Then I moved to the Philippines, and you have to sing karaoke here. And if you don't, you're not going to have any friends. So I've learned how to sing at least some songs to where I'm pretty happy with the way that I sing. And it's just another example to me of how learnable just about everything is, even though many times we don't think so. So I'd love to hear, was there a point in time? Okay, first of all, I'm curious, how old were you when you first started dreaming of singing? Like, when did you start? Sounds like that's something you held for a long time, right?
Yes. Wow. I don't even remember.
So as far back as you can remember, right? When you were really
Yeah,
little.
yeah.
Okay.
I remember when I was little, I was even singing for our aunts and uncles. I don't know. I just loved it.
Okay. And when you were younger, did you remember thinking you were good?
No.
No, you just loved it.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
sang my heart out.
So it's just something that made you feel good and you loved doing it,
Yeah,
but you didn't
exactly.
necessarily identify as being really good. Okay. And then in high school, you said it was in high school that somebody told you said you were trying to get into choir.
Yeah. Yes, I was trying to be part of the group because I saw them sing and I'm like, yeah, I want to be there. But
How
it
did that
wasn't for
feel
me.
when you got somebody telling you, oh, no, you can't or you aren't?
Honestly, I remember believing in that, how is it, thought, like when the teacher told
Proclamation.
me, yeah, I remember completely that I was disappointed. And I was like, oh, I was even embarrassed. I remember being embarrassed because people were there watching me audition and being told that, no, you're not going to make it. Oh, shit. I remember being so disappointed and feeling humiliated and saying like, why did I even try? That was exactly what I
Yeah.
thought. And I was like, but that was also the time when I started to focus more on playing the guitar, which was also good because I learned the guitar. But yeah, it was a time when I just said, okay, don't sing, just play the guitar.
Okay. And the person that told you no, what do you remember it being, no, you're not good enough right now to be to make the grade or to be included? Or was it, did you hear it more as you can't or you're not good enough?
Yes, it was more of I can't sing.
Yeah.
And singing, like I said, was just something that I
Important
loved
to you.
so much.
Yeah.
And for someone to say that, no, you don't, you're not a singer. Okay.
Yeah, you're not a singer. That's, and I think for anybody listening, that this is the kind of thing that happens to us in life a lot of times. And the people who say these things don't realize how detrimental and terrible it is to put it in that language and how different it is. If somebody says, okay, right now, today, your singing skill set is not at the place where you can get into this thing right now. Okay, that's completely different than saying you're not a singer. Completely different, right? Because then we hear it as, oh, it's me. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. And we just hear it as permanent and fixed. And if that
Yeah,
person has authority, it crushes us. And so I
exactly.
would say for anybody listening out there, think of a time in your life that you've heard stuff like that, whether it's from your parents or a teacher or anybody, especially if they have authority in your life and it makes you feel, but the thing is, they're wrong. 99.999% of the time, they're wrong because just about everything is learnable. You probably can't make yourself 8 feet tall, but you can just change almost anything else about yourself. So now tell us about the starting a band and then having success. What changed in your mind? I'd love to hear a little bit of the experience of, do you think you learned how to sing? Do you think you, like, what changed in your feeling about yourself and your ability to sing?
Okay, so there's so many things, so many factors, but one of them was when I really asked my parents, okay, can I get like singing lessons? Like I felt like maybe exactly, maybe I just need to learn how to tweak my voice or this and that. Maybe it's just something I need to just be used to. So I did get lessons just for a few sessions. And that was exactly what I learned because I was more like just following these artists, yeah, singing at the top of my voice. But then from the lessons that I got, they told me how to control it and really make it from low to high, how to balance it and not make it look like you're just screaming, or make it sound like you're just screaming. But so that I learned. And then, uh, and then for our graduation, we had to perform on stage. So I was still
Timid.
not, yeah, I wasn't confident because I still felt, no, I don't know how to sing. And I saw these other students who were like so confident, like divas and all of this stuff. Oh, they're so good. And then here I am just starting off and I was expected to sing on stage. And I was like, I can't do this. But I did. And my parents were like, yeah, we're proud of you, blah, blah, blah. But of course, like for me, it's okay. Of course, they're my parents. They support me. But how about other people? What are they going to think? I was always thinking about what other people think. And so finally in college, when this guy was like, no, let's sing the songs that you want. Let's not think about what is in style or what people listen to.
Mhm.
Think about what you want to sing
Yeah.
and let's play that. So we finally got the band together. We have the same style, genre. And when we finally when auditioned for this big event in school, we didn't even know that we were the youngest. When we got in, we're like, yeah, I remember I was on the phone when they called me and I didn't expect it at all. And the guy who was accepting the bands said like, okay, your band got in. And I remember just saying, oh, really? Thank you. But then when we ended the call, I put it down and I just jumped up and down. And I remember my dad was like, what's wrong with you? What's going on? And we got in. I contacted my band, everyone. We were all so happy. And then finally, when we were about to perform, that's when we found out, like everyone there, all the bands were telling us, wow, like you're the first freshman who got in this kind of event.
Nice.
We're like, what? No way. So it was making history. I mean, we were just with the youngest there,
That's
but
awesome.
it was so cool. And I remember performing And that event, like, we were the one who started. And of course, like, when you start an event, it's normally less people. So we were there and we were like, okay, there's not much people watching, but it's just that feeling of starting something big and being able to expose yourself to opportunities. And because of that event, we did get more opportunities. So we got invites here and there. And yeah, it was a really, this was when I understood, I know this, like, I'm good at it. And then when people started singing to our, because we also performed original songs.
Hmm.
And when people started singing to our songs while we were performing, that's when I was like,
They knew you.
wow, they knew
Nice.
us. Yeah. So that means that we're not just some people trying to, what this,
What was
it's
the
not
name of
like
the
we
band
were,
again?
oh, so I'm sorry, I never mentioned it. But so that time we were called Xylem, Silem.
Nice.
It's, you're wondering why. It's actually a mix of letters from our friend. Her name is Miles, and she was our really close friend. And one of my friends had a huge crush on her. So we were just teasing him. Oh,
The
let's call
secret
her
crush.
that. Yeah.
Nice.
It's just an inside joke, but yeah. Now I reveal it.
I'll have to tag her on this.
I'm sure she'll see this at some point.
That's cool. I want to hear where that led, but just to go back for a second, you said that you always wanted to sing and then you get crushed with this news from somebody telling you you're not a singer, but then you still held on to that dream enough to where when another teacher asked you to journal about what you wanted. So I just pointing out that you didn't let go of still wanting it, something that was still in you, and speaking that out loud in a group of people where someone else, and I'm just pointing this out for anybody listening. And those are also pieces of this story to me that none of this would have ever happened for you if you hadn't also kept vocalizing it even after you had somebody tell you can't. And then you connected with exactly the right person that helped you start this band. Pretty amazing. Anything you want to
Yeah.
add to all that?
Yeah, it's true. Like sometimes we just expect the typical opportunities like auditioning, or for example when it comes to singing or performing, so we expect like you have to audition to be
Yeah.
exposed, or you
Yeah.
have to connect with
Exactly.
a sponsor or to or an agent. That's like typical, but sometimes the universe just has its own ways of giving you the opportunity.
Definitely.
Like you don't have to force everything, you just have to trust the process. If it's something that you love, and just keep doing it and keep improving and don't compare yourself to others. And that's exactly what I did before. I was like, oh, look, she's so good. I can't be on her level, or this and that. And I was like hiding. But because I was honest with myself and honest to people about what I love, that's what made me get my opportunity. That's how the opportunity reached me.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Not by, not by comparison, or being in a rush.
Yeah. I've seen many times people have like dreams, they have even business plans, something that they really want to create in the world or for themselves, and they are afraid to speak it to other people for sake of maybe embarrassment or seeming silly, or what if I say it and I never do it, or what if I say it and somebody steals the idea. But
Mhm.
I've learned over and over again, like, the universe can't work for you if you keep it bottled up. Talk about it and your idea will get refined. Just, it's like setting this intention and speaking it out to the world. That's how things actually come to you. Really
I agree.
nice. Thanks for sharing that. All right, so now you guys have this unexpected success with the band. People are people are following Asylum. They even know your music. And then where did that lead? I guess two questions I have about that. What growth would you say came from those experiences? And then tell us the story of where did it lead?
Growth. It really made me experiment with my voice more. It made me also understand being in a group. It's not just about me. It's about also the guitarist. It's about drummer. You have to work as a team and see where you can meet halfway. So that's one thing that I learned, like respecting each other and adjusting to what each of us, with all our strengths and weaknesses. I completely learned from that. I honestly, being with a band, I admit that there were also some things, because being young, I was also like too excited about things. And there were times when also I lost my way here and there. And we had some fallouts with the band. We had to change some members. I had to change it to another band again. But that's, I would say I grew. I think I grew mature. It's not just about my singing. It's about me as a person. And from that, I was able to really focus on what I want
Mhm.
to be like before my dream was again to perform in big events, big stages, go on tour.
Right.
And we did have invitations to go outside of Cebu, to go to Manila. And these were opportunities that would really get us big because we were already having our music in the radio. We were already getting interviewed on the radio. Like this was getting further and further as a band. But for the invitations outside of Cebu, we couldn't do that because one of our bandmates was still taking care of his grandmother.
Mhm.
We didn't want to play with another just borrowed guitarist. We
Yeah.
want to be as a
Your
band.
yeah.
Yeah. So we respected that. So we were like, okay, you know what? We're not going to take the invitation. So we canceled all these invitations just because we can't go as a band. And deep inside, I felt, wow, this was my opportunity. This is what I've been waiting for. But at the same time, I didn't want to be selfish. I wanted to think about what the band thought and what we have to be as a team. And that's what I also learned. It's not just about me. It's you have to also consider who got you this opportunity. It's them. Like you wouldn't have gotten this far if it wasn't for them.
Yeah.
So you have to respect that. And that's what I learned. And although that kind of stopped my opportunity, I would say I learned a lot. And it led me to another opportunity, which we will be going there soon. But
Sure.
basically, I got so sad that my dream of being in a band, being famous, I lost that. When I finally jumped to a new passion, that's when I realized, oh, if I hadn't left
Mm.
this opportunity, I wouldn't have discovered another one.
Yeah, so
So,
let's talk about that in a second, but, like, just that moment, so you've discovered you actually can learn singing, you've had the success, you start loving what you're doing and then starting to get these visions of where it could go, and
mhm,
also growing opportunities, even I think you told me international opportunities to play. And then you start to realize this is actually not going to happen because the people that are in the band don't have the same either vision or don't have the same potential in their lives to pursue that path. And it's just being real and honest here at that time. What were the stories in your head about that disappointment? Because usually if we get really disappointed, we sometimes slip into blame. Or what were you doing? I know you've now come to a different view of what was happening. You now see that was part of your journey. And but at that time when that crushing disappointment is happening to you, what are some of the stories that you were telling yourself then?
I was honestly just really thinking about, yeah, doing it by myself, going solo. That's what a lot of bands did when they break up. We have the solo artist already. And which that time I wasn't comfortable playing the guitar yet. Like I was just comfortable singing. But playing an instrument for me was like, okay, no, I'm never going to get to that level as well, which eventually I did. Like I said, that time I was just yeah, I just felt, I don't know, I felt like I was hopeless. I felt since I didn't know how to play an instrument by myself, I just felt, oh no, I'm going to have to form a band again. And it was getting frustrated because being in a band, again, you have to depend on everyone for,
Yeah.
for practice or for making decisions and all that. Yeah, this was what was running on my mind. But while I was thinking about these things, already another opportunity came in.
Okay. Let's talk about that. So what happened?
So that was when I discovered rugby. So
That's a that's an unexpected shift in
very
direction.
unexpected. So while the band wasn't getting much time for practice anymore or for recording, so I was feeling like a bit inspired. And so I was also working this call center, and I met this guy who invited me to play rugby. And that time I didn't know what rugby was. I didn't know what I've never heard of it. But he said that they have trainings every this and that. So I'm like, oh yeah, I would like some workout because I'm always in front of the computer. I want to be able to, get myself active again. So I joined rugby, and the first training, just when I stepped into the field and I met the team, I was already like, okay, I'm gonna continue playing rugby. Like I still didn't understand the game, but the way that I was welcomed the way they wanted me to be part of the team, the way they taught me the basics, I already felt it was very welcoming. It was very authentic. It was just passion of the sport. And I felt they really wanted me to be part of them. And that was a great and new feeling. So I started training. And then when I was already getting used to the game and stuff,
Hmm.
that's when we started hanging out with the team, going to like drinking together and going to parties together and this and that. So when there were nights when we went to this acoustic places, I would go up on stage
Yeah.
and perform. And my feeling was like, okay, I can do that. I can balance this. I can still continue my passion with music and also start this new sport. So that was a good transition.
Okay, so
But
you're working in a call center. You discover you love rugby,
Mhm.
and like how often were you playing, or how often were you
Well,
engaging with the
training
team?
training that time was I think twice or three times a week. So I don't remember the exact days, but it was normally like Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Yeah, I think it was that or Wednesday. Yeah, something like that. Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. I think that's the more ideal.
Was this your first time engaging in team sports?
Yes. I was invited before with flag football, but I never got the chance to really participate. It was something so unexpected. I never expected to be part of a team sport and loving it right away. And especially that it's a tackle sport. It was very brutal and everything, but I loved it. It was the energy, it was the adrenaline that got me to keep going. It was something that, yeah, I really discovered that I would be addicted to. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm guessing people that might be listening to this that are from the Philippines, if they even know what rugby is, they've probably just seen it on TV here or there, and maybe Australia, or you just see these, big white guys, or doesn't matter what color they are, but like big guys playing this sport. And to imagine you playing this, I think would be weird for people. So who are the other people on the team? Was it all women? Is it like, yeah?
So that time, our club, we were called the Dragons, Cebu Dragons. So it was a mix of men and women. So that time when I joined, our teams weren't really registered as an official rugby team yet. So we were training with the men. So we would tackle with them, we would play against them. It was super just free flowing and fun. Like we would even drink on the field during our made tournaments. But it was also because of the culture, like the people who sponsored us were foreigners who were passionate about rugby. So guys from South Africa, from Australia, from France, like all these people who love rugby. So they brought this team together and they really also introduced to us the culture, the rugby culture.
Hmm.
So that opened my eyes a lot with understanding different people, different, yeah, culture, religion, and whatever. It was nice to meet different people from different countries and learn the sport together. Yeah, it was cool.
And when did you start playing rugby?
That was 2009. I was, yeah, 2000. I was 19 years old. So yeah, it was when I was still working at the call center. And then when I started playing rugby, I would say 19. I think by 20, I started working at a graphic company. Yeah, a publishing company. That's when I felt more that I was doing my passion. So with arts, with music, with rugby.
Nice. And
Yeah.
then the rugby team, like you guys would play against people from you travel, or how do you, because there's not a whole league in Cebu, right?
Yes, finally, after 2 years that I started, I can't even remember, but we got registered. So our teams were not allowed to play with the men anymore. So we were officially having tours to Manila, playing against them, playing with the other women's team, like really making it serious. And then, so this is where it got more interesting because um, I was already starting to get intense with the training and the sport that finally I got this opportunity to play with the national team. And it was only because one of the best players in our team, I think she couldn't renew her passport or her visa. So I was the next one in line. So they got me to join the national team and it was so I was so excited. Okay, there's something else to focus on this time. So
So the national team is playing abroad, playing in.
yeah. So we were preparing to play in Thailand.
Okay.
So we were training really hard and this, but unfortunately, I have this really bad shoulder injury. So it got dislocated during training. And that time almost every time I tackled, it would pop out. So sometimes when I don't strengthen it that much, it would even pop out while I'm catching the ball.
Oh.
So it was that bad. And so that time I was just really thinking of rugby as fun and this and that. So when I got to the national team and we went to Thailand, I felt so lucky. I felt so proud of myself. But I remember that was the time when the coach, after the whole tournament, so I didn't even get to play. I was more of the bench, but then there was like 5 minutes left, I think, or 1 minute even, that she put me in, and it was already almost the clock ended, and then I didn't have enough time to really play. But yeah, it wasn't a good performance, and I remember after the tournament, the coach came up to me and told me it was the same feeling about the singing teacher. So the coach told me like, okay, you're not national player level. You don't know
You don't belong
sport yet. Yeah, you don't exactly. It was exactly what she said. You're not in this level. These girls are a lot better, more experienced. And I remember even before she finished talking, I just cried so hard. I couldn't control it. And even the other teammates were already looking at me, wondering what's going on. So yeah, finally, when the coach finished talking, I went straight to the bathroom and I just cried and cried. And one of my teammates went up to me like, "Hey, are you okay? What happened?" So I just felt again so frustrated because I felt like, okay, here's another thing that I fell in love with. And I gave up my music. I will not really give up, but like my dreams of becoming a rock star. And I focused on rugby. Here I am. Someone's telling me again that I'm not good enough. And I just couldn't take it. I was just so depressed. But when I got home back to Cebu and I told my other teammates about it, and they told me, no, don't let that stop you. So they just told me, you just need to work on your shoulder, strengthening this and that. And I did. So for the longest time, as I can remember, I just kept training and working on everything, my fitness, my strength, my strengthening, my
So
stamina.
before you went to Thailand and played with the national team as the kind of the fill-in, right? You had been playing for about 2 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
pretty
then
much.
even though you had this shoulder injury and you'd been training, but that didn't bring you to the level you needed to be at or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So then you go there, you play, things don't go that well. You get told again, you don't have the skill, you don't belong here. Yeah, you've got this. I'm wondering, did you ever have anything like this even before from childhood? Because this is apparently like a repeating pattern for you, getting this "you're not good enough" story. But yeah, so then you come back and instead of giving in, your friends tell you, keep going.
Yeah. So my teammates, especially, of course, my parents didn't want me to play rugby. They were like, it's aggressive and all that. But they understood how much I loved it. So they still supported. But yeah, with my friends, they were telling me, come on, just keep training. Let's work more on what your weakness is, which is your shoulders. So they gave me programs. My coach gave me
Were you
some
thinking
programs.
about quitting at that point? Were you feeling no?
This time I wanted to
You,
push myself.
so you said you cried when you were crying on the field when you heard that. There wasn't a period of time where you really felt like just giving up and that you weren't good enough. You just never really contemplated it.
No,
That's
I
awesome.
remember my feeling this time was like, I'm going to show you. That was what I felt.
More
I was
like,
like,
you're wrong.
no.
I'm going to prove it.
Yeah, exactly. This time I was like, no, I know I can do this. I was more like, to be honest, I was more like angry. No, you can't tell me that. Like, so, although I felt so sad, I felt hurt that I was told that. But at the same time, I was like, I'm not going to allow you to tell me that. So I trained harder and harder. But every time there was a selection, so this was getting more frustrated because every time there was a selection, it was again another no. And I would work harder and focus harder on on the thing that I missed. And it was another no. And it was just no. And finally, I was like, okay, maybe I just need to put 100% because the other teammates that time, some of them were like, they didn't really have to go to work because they were still in school. They had their allowance. So all they did was like train. But me, I had to work. I had to make money. And then I had to also go to training. So I was like, okay, I'm going to put my 100% energy. So I gave up my job for this 3-month training for the SEA Games. I think it was for the SEA Games, Southeast Asian Games. And so I gave up my job and I just focused. This is it. I'm going to give my 100%. And I did give my 100%. I worked on my shoulders. They didn't pop out anymore. I worked on my fitness. I was one of the top in the fitness test. I was probably top one of the, either top 3 or top 5, something like that, among the whole rugby team.
Okay.
And I was top in, even in in stamina. And then with tackling, my shoulders didn't pop out anymore. I was just like, boom. I was like, yeah, I'm ready for it. I was just super energized. And even my teammates were telling me, no way you're not getting in. You really did your best. And they were all telling me like, Astrid, this is your year. This is for you, blah, blah, blah. And then the selections came out and I was super confident. And then it was another no. And again, in front of the coach, in front of the team, I cried so much. And I was like, why? Like, why? What's going on? Like, it was everything. And I just get emotional because I just remember my feeling of giving everything up for this one thing. And it's been going on for years and I still didn't get it. And I remember messaging our captain. And because I was just so frustrated and mad already. And I messaged her like, what did I say? It was more like, I already worked on my fitness, my stamina, my training, this and that. And the reason why they didn't get me this time was not because of any of those, even though I perfected them. I said, why did you not pick me when I perfected all of this? And she mentioned, because for this tournament, I decided to focus on just getting, because it was a 7s tournament. So it just mostly running. So she said, I decided to select girls who are more forwards, who are bigger, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. It's a 7s game. You need people who are fast. And I'm like, why do you change the strategy when I perfect everything already? I was just so mad. And I even told her like, what can't I do? Like, what's one thing? What reason should you create just so you won't select me? I remember it was something like that. And I was starting to sound bitter and but at the same time, but I know I 100% knew that I could make it.
Yeah.
So after that was when I just said, that was when I finally said, it's not for me. I give up. I was like, it's just a title, being the national team. So what? Like, I've proven myself. The other teams said that I was top to them. I think that's what matters. But deep inside, I didn't fully convince myself that I'm like, still want to be in the team. But still, I was like, okay, you have to accept it. And my best friends were telling me, if it's not for you, you give your all. That's good. You should be proud of yourself. That's the only thing that matters. So eventually I stopped giving my 100%. I stopped taking it too seriously. I was like, just enjoy the game. Just stop comparing yourself. Stop competing with other people. Just enjoy. So I did. I continued playing still.
Yeah.
And you know what happened? There was some coaches from New Zealand who really trained professionals came to visit and they were training us, this and that. And believe it or not, when we had this test game, I did this really massive tackle. And by the end of the tournament, they awarded me the best tackle of the tournament. And I got this award and I lifted it. And when they told me to make a speech, I just cried. I cried now because I was proud of myself. I cried because I proved to them. And I remember back then when the coach told me, in the national team said that you're not in that level. I remember that time. And here I was with the best tackle award. And it was like telling her, no, I've got this. I got to that level. So it was such a great feeling. And that was all I needed. And after that, I had peace of mind. I was like, I don't need to be part of the national team to prove myself. All I have to do is prove myself. That was it.
What are some of the top learnings that that have come out of rugby for you?
Wow, a lot. Like, for one, patience. Really patience, not with just with the teammates, like when you're training, even with the game while playing, like patience for the ball to arrive, to be also, aside from patience, dedication, perseverance, so many things, like really just keep on going. And there's always going to be failure. Like, it's just like when you're tackling, you tackle someone or if someone tackles, you go down and then maybe someone scores a try, the other team, and you lose. But there's still another opportunity to make a try. There's still another opportunity to win. And the same with tournaments, like you work as a team. Maybe for this tournament you lose, but then keep going. The next tournament you win. It's just really on and off. It's a cycle.
What about this process? Like, kind of, you went through a very similar journey with being told you couldn't sing and then getting back into it, learning, having success, but then toward the end of that, getting disappointed that you couldn't go on because the band didn't work out. And similar arc with the rugby experience.
Yeah.
I don't know, like acceptance or any realizations or learnings, like inner stuff around other people's opinions versus proving things to yourself, or acceptance or resentment, any of that stuff. I would love to.
Yeah. I think the biggest part in general that I learned is, when it comes to acceptance, it's more like accepting that it's not the time yet. Don't be in a rush. Like, today, it's not you, it's her. Tomorrow, it's this other person. But then maybe the day after, it's your turn. It's your turn to shine. You don't have to force it like it's today. So it's the same with music. That day when I auditioned, it wasn't my time. I was in high school and I just kept going, singing my heart out. And then the opportunity came in college. That was like years after. And that's because I went on. Like, I still believed, I still focused on enjoying it rather than competing or comparing. So same with rugby.
A little bit less outcome attachment, maybe like less attached to what the outcome would be and more focused on just being in the journey and in the process.
Exactly. Yes. So don't look at your goal as something to be the best or like to be better than someone. Look at the goal as something to reach after enjoying the journey. It's more like you have to focus on your passion. If it's really what you want, are you enjoying it? If it's not making you happy, then you're never going to get there. So focus on the process, on the journey. And it's a common saying, it's a cliche, but it's true.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened with singing. I forgot about being in the choir and I just kept singing, and I formed a band and we got to good gigs and events. With rugby, I stopped focusing on being on the national team on that event, on that tournament. And I just continued training and enjoying the game. And then I got rewarded, like in the most unexpected time.
Yeah. Nice.
These things happen at the right time. So stop forcing it too early.
Yeah. Definitely a good lesson. Love that one. We're headed toward running out of time, I think, for today. So just curious, just to cap up your story a little bit, what led you to put yourself into the position of being in Siargao? Like, what was the kind of I don't know, make it a little bit. Yeah. How did that happen?
Yeah. So finally, after rugby, I was like, okay, my work here is done. And so I got pretty bored. I was like, okay, I don't think I want to be in the national team anymore. I'm done. I'm proud of myself. So what can I do? I need something new. And then out of nowhere, my best friend messaged. I didn't even mention to him that I wanted to leave or something. He just messaged me randomly and said, hey, I know someone who's hiring in Siargao. Just maybe you're interested. I'm like, yes. I didn't even apply yet. Okay. I told him, okay, tell this person that I'm interested. And I didn't even get a feedback yet, but I was so sure that this was what I wanted and what was for me. So I already quit my job and I already packed my stuff. and I was so ready to leave. And it just felt right. It just felt like I was so ready to give up my life in the city. I was like, okay, time for something new. So when I moved to Siargao, I just wanted to try surfing. Never got into my mind to compete or whatever. But when I started surfing, it just like rugby, I fell in love with it. And the thing with surfing is I don't need to depend on other people anymore with a team, with this and that. I can go by myself. And this was more freedom for me. It's more like me competing with myself. And that's a good competition. You're challenging yourself rather
Yeah.
than looking at other people. So this was something new. This was something fun. And this was something free. And when I started surfing, I just felt like I released all that bad feeling of these negative things holding me down. And with surfing, it was just fun. And I met the locals and they were like inviting me, come on, join us, surf with us. And every time I'm in the water, it just makes me forget about everything bad, everything. So I fell in love with it for 6 months to a year. I was surfing in Siargao, 2016. And I decided that, okay, maybe I should travel. So I left the island for a while. I traveled a lot. I got this opportunity with Decathlon, a French company that allowed me to even travel to Europe and go different places. And this was when I realized that as long as you stop forcing yourself to be somewhere, the opportunities just flow back. So when I finally stopped controlling rugby, controlling my opportunity in rugby, when I finally let it go, that's when I got the opportunity to learn surfing, to travel around the world. And it opened my eyes so much, meeting people, different cultures, understanding how their mind works and how the world works. It's so good. So now here in Siargao, I'm so comfortable. I love surfing. I'm competing, but not to be better than someone. I'm competing because it makes me feel alive. It makes me be better at surfing. And that's all that matters. And
Amazing.
yeah.
I'm sure there's a ton more story to unpack there, but I love most people are going through their lives trying to live a script that either somebody else wrote for them or that they're writing for themselves. And I've done so much of this in my life where it's like fortunately, I didn't have anyone else writing the script for me saying this is what your life should be like and this is where you should be heading. A lot of people are dealing with their family has done that for them. It's been typically me doing it for myself, but it took me so long to realize that I was setting myself up for so much frustration, trying to create so much certainty. It's like you have this, you think you can script and predict the future and map it all out way into you get this vision of what you think you're supposed to create or that you want to create. That's not the way things work. It's like better opportunities are going to come to you, but you're going to miss them because you're just so determined and stubborn. And
Yes.
I realized like I've been wrestling with the universe, like
Yes,
instead of
exactly.
taking what I'm given and like there's better things coming at me all the time that I'm not even noticing. So I love that takeaway. It's really excellent. It's obvious with your energy now that you're much more aligned with the things that are coming at you. So
Yes. I think you should even come visit Siargao and see how it looks here.
yeah, I've been there I think 4 times, but it's been a while and I
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
Gladys and I we haven't been there together yet. So
Mm,
we'll come see you soon.
great.
Well, Astrid, thank you for sharing your story today. Maybe we can do this again sometime and talk a little bit more about one of these rugby or surfing. We didn't even get into, I have curiosities about your family background and how you were able to do these things, whether you had total support. Sounds like you had decent amount of support from your family in your journey. Is that
Yeah, with regards to career, yes. But of course, there are also some problems. I mean, family problems are normal. So there were some things as well that was challenging.
yeah, I'm
So
sure.
yeah, we can
Maybe another
talk
day we
about
can get back into those things, but thank you for
yes.
being here today. Just as we wrap up, I want to ask if you look back, I don't know, let's say 3, 4, 5 years ago,
Mhm.
who you remember yourself being then compared to who you are now. What are one or two things that you're really proud of in who you've become?
Wow. Yeah, I would admit that now, like 3 years ago, I was an angry person. I was angry because of the things that I wasn't able to get. after working so hard. Things like, again, singing, rugby, even just small things like being like helping other people, but not giving the same gratitude back or something. Like a lot of things that made me angry or disappointed with people. But now I would say I've grown to be more understanding, looking at different situations in different perspectives and trying to put myself in their place and trying to just step back and see, okay, I understand why this is like that. And now also for me, with my experiences, okay, now I understand why I didn't get this. Now I understand. It's more like looking at the big picture and seeing that, like I mentioned earlier, there's a right time for everything.
Nice.
So now I've grown to be that person to look at things more and understand more and be patient. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a journey that yeah, it's such a powerful thing when you build the habit and the skill of intentionally shifting your perspective and getting other perspectives, zooming out, being able to see a situation not just from the perspective of what's happening to you, but lots more factors. That's so critical. And what's something that's been integral to your growth? I think you've obviously the experiences you've had have grown you, but are there any practices, resources, something that you have used that's been useful? Could be a practice, could be a book, a YouTube channel, like something you would recommend to other people that's really been powerful in growing yourself.
There are two different things. So there are two books that I actually read during the pandemic because that time was really like mind blowing. And I was stuck in the city going crazy. So one of the main books that I read was Sophie's World. It's a very old book and I've heard about it a long time ago, but I never got the chance to read it. So during pandemic, my friend just randomly sent it to me as a PDF. And I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, okay, this is a very old book. And he's like, read it. I'm like, okay. So I did. And it's, I would say one of the best books I've read because it talks about the different religion in a very unique way, but I can't explain it now, but it talks about different religion. And it's not just about religion. It's more of philosophy, like the way people think in different religions. So even Buddhism and all these
Oh,
stuff.
cool.
So I was able to understand and open up my mind again. Other people's thoughts, other people's practices, how they were born. Yeah. So understanding these things, you get to just remove yourself from your life growing up. Like it's not just about how you were raised. It's also about how other people are raised or
Yeah.
where they were born and it's everything. So this is a really good book. I would recommend it when it comes to understanding different perspectives,
Thank you.
but also The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. That book is
Eric
pretty
Manson. Yeah,
famous. Yeah.
it's a
So
good
this
one.
is also one of my favorites. So it talks about, yeah, it's not just about not giving a fuck completely, but learning when not to give a fuck. Really just not thinking about what other people think, not caring about if they think you look stupid. For example, if when I'm performing live, if I make a mistake, oh no, it's
Yeah,
embarrassing. It's more about just really, yeah, just fuck it. I make a mistake. What so what? I can perfect it next time. It's just that mindset. So
awesome.
yeah.
Love it. Those are great. And
Yeah.
is there something that you're working on in yourself? Something, a weakness or something you're struggling with, something you're trying to improve? What's something that you could think of you want to work on
Um
next?
right now, since I've been focusing now more on surfing and also I'm doing some meditation. So with meditation, it really helps me step back because sometimes I still, like I said, 3 years ago, I was an angry person with frustrations. But now I'm able to at least control it more. And with learning from different people with different culture, I'm able to understand more like why they act like this and like that. With regards to what I'm working on, it's really more of, yeah, just being patient and not reacting right away to someone's actions. It's more like, okay, why did this happen? Like just stepping back. So with meditation, that's what I'm, yeah, working on,
Nice.
just breathing and thinking.
How did you start for somebody who hasn't really built a meditation practice? How did you get started?
It's also from meeting different surfers, actually, because before, honestly, when I moved to Siargao and I met so many people doing yoga, I was like, no, that's not my thing. It's more like, I want to work out. I want to do aggressive things. But learning from the really good surfers because I'm so in love with surfing. And when I learned that, yeah, they also meditate, it's just a balance of aggressiveness and calmness. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to try it. So when I did, I just finally learned how it works because before for me, it's just, that's not my thing. But when you understand how it works and it's not more of just physical, it's more of the mind and control and calmness. So
Do you use an app or how did you start?
I started, yeah, at first with just my friends who are instructors, just
Okay.
trying them out.
With
And
other
then
people.
yeah. And then I started also checking like, YouTube. And nowadays, like I don't even do follow programs. Like for me, it's more of just like playing this nice, calm music, just being by myself and just blanking my mind. It's just that. And even just a few minutes a day, it already helps me be
Well,
a calmer person.
yeah, probably the most important practice in my life for sure. And when I don't do it, I really notice the difference.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's true.
Well, Astrid, thank you so much. I know we're taking up a lot of your time today, and I really appreciate you being here to share your story. And thank you for your support. And it's been recharging talking to you and actually some good reminders for me as well.
That's great to hear. And it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for letting me be part of this project.
It is our pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to this interview on Emerge Stories. We really hope that something here sparked your curiosity or maybe helped you think about something in your life just from a little bit of a different angle or perspective, maybe opened up your mind to something you might be able to do in your life to take more ownership of your own learning and growth. That's the goal of this show. So please join our community, like and share, and tell other people about these stories if they're meaningful for you. And thanks so much for being here.